The Headless Bride of Savannah Manor, Extended. Scene 1. The New Job. Savannah, Georgia. Spanish moss hanging from ancient oaks. Savannah Manor, a heritage hotel built before the Civil War, stood at the edge of the historic district, its wrought iron gates creaking in the humid night air. Rachel Hayes, 26, had been hired just 2 weeks earlier as housekeeping staff. The hotel had a reputation locals didn't talk about openly. Old money, old secrets, old walls that had seen too much. Her supervisor, Mrs. Beaumont, had warned her on day 1. Some rooms on the second floor, we don't assign unless we have to. Folks get funny feelings up there. Rachel had laughed it off then. She wasn't laughing 2 weeks later. One night, finishing her rounds, she heard a sound from room 214, the honeymoon suite. A dragging sound. Heavy. Wrong. She knocked. Housekeeping. Anyone in there? Silence. The reservation log showed no guest in that room. Hadn't for months. Rachel swiped her master key. What she found inside would never leave her. A body hung suspended in the center of the room, wrists and ankles bound to all 4 bedposts, stretched in an X. No head, just a clean cut at the neck, blood pooling steadily on the hardwood floor. The body swayed, slow and deliberate, like a pendulum that never finished its arc. Rachel's scream brought the entire night staff running. Scene 2. The haunting begins. Detectives swarmed the hotel within the hour. Even seasoned officers went quiet at what they found. Rachel gave her statement 3 times. Each time her hands wouldn't stop shaking. That night, back in her staff quarters, she woke at exactly 3 a.m. A dragging sound, coming down the hallway. The same sound from room 214. She froze under her blanket, telling herself it was nothing. The sound stopped outside her door. 3 knocks. She forced herself to look at the gap beneath the door. 2 bare feet, facing backward. She tried to scream. Nothing came. The feet dragged away into the dark and vanished. Hotel management dismissed it as trauma. Rachel knew better. She just didn't have proof yet. Scene 3. The night manager's warning. 2 nights later, the elderly night manager, Mr. Calloway, who'd worked at Savannah Manor for 40 years, pulled Rachel aside. "You found something in 214, didn't you?" Rachel nodded, unable to speak. "This hotel has a history, girl. Things that happened here before either of us were born. I've seen 3 housekeepers quit in 20 years over that room. The smart ones left and never came back. Why didn't you warn me? Because if I told every new hire, nobody would ever work here." He pressed an old brass key into her hand. "Basement door, beneath the laundry room. Whatever's happening, it started down there. I've never had the courage to look. Maybe you should, before it finds you first." Scene 4. The box. The next afternoon, cleaning a forgotten storage room, Rachel found a wooden box tucked behind broken furniture. Strange symbols covered its surface. A circle, an eye at its center, handprints radiating outward. Inside, old black and white photographs. One stopped her heart. Robed figures in masks, standing in a circle. In the center, a woman suspended in the air, bound at wrists and ankles. Headless. On the back, one word. Offering. Shaking, Rachel brought everything to the detectives. The box, the photos, Mr. Calloway's key. Scene 5. The sealed busy into following the brass key. Police found a steel door beneath the laundry room, sealed since 1941. They broke it open. Inside, the same symbols covering every wall. A stone altar at the center, surrounded by human bones. Forensics dated the bones at 70 to 80 years old. Wedged in the stone, they found a leather journal. The journal told a horrifying story. In 1931, a secret society of wealthy Savannah families had performed ritual sacrifices they called the offering. Young women bound, suspended, and beheaded in this very basement. The final page held one. Scene 6. The names. Detective Sarah Kowalski, lead investigator on the case, dug further into city archives. She found something Rachel hadn't expected, a list of names. Founding families of the secret society. One name matched a family that still owned property in Savannah today, the Beaumonts. Rachel's supervisor. When confronted, Mrs. Beaumont turned pale. "My great-grandfather built half this town on what they did in that basement." I always thought it was just family rumor. Ghost stories. I never believed. Believe it now, Detective Kowalski said. Because something in that hotel believes it's not finished. Scene 7. Escalation. Rachel decided to quit. She told Mr. Calloway she'd work one final week to give proper notice. That week, the activity intensified. Shadows moved wrong in mirrors. Cold spots followed her through the halls. Twice she heard her own name whispered from empty rooms. On her second to last night, she found words fogged onto her bathroom mirror that hadn't been there moments before. One more. She called Detective Kowalski immediately. Kowalski promised extra patrols near the hotel that week. It wasn't enough. Scene 8. The final night. On her last scheduled shift, Rachel finished her rounds and walked the long corridor back to her room. She felt certain someone walked beside her. She turned. No one there. She opened her door. 5 robed, masked figures stood inside, exactly as in the photographs. Each held a rotted, severed woman's head. Rachel screamed and ran. The hotel felt utterly empty, her screams swallowed by silence. The figures closed in from every direction. She fled into the nearest unlocked room and through the bolt. She called Kowalski, begged her to hurry. Hanging up, she looked around and realized with dawning horror exactly where she'd locked herself. Room 214. Scene 9. Discovery. Kowalski's unit arrived in under 6 minutes. Too late. Room 214's door was locked from inside. They broke it down. In the center of the room,
The thing was screaming and throwing itself against the walls. It appeared at the bedroom window, gripping the iron window bars, its pale white eyes burning in the darkness. Its face was twisted and horrible. Its long black hair hung around it like a curtain. Sheriff Dale had arrived by now with 2 deputies. He took one look at the window and radioed for backup, but Bill Cooper stepped forward and said there was only one way to end this, the same way it had always been ended in Hollow Creek. Tom and the other neighbors had already brought cans of kerosene. Ryan looked at Sarah. She nodded. Ryan looked at the house one last time, the house they had dreamed about, the house they had worked so hard for, and he nodded too. The neighbors poured the kerosene around the base of the house, and Tom touched a torch to it. The flames rose fast and bright against the black Oregon sky. Inside the house, the screaming grew louder and then suddenly stopped. The windows glowed orange and yellow. Pine ash floated up into the night air like snow. By the time the fire department arrived, there was nothing left but embers and a black, smoldering foundation. In the weeks that followed, the town of Hollow Creek slowly returned to normal. The strange feeling in the air disappeared. Dogs stopped barking at nothing. Children played outside again until sunset. The neighbors came together and helped Ryan and Sarah build a new home on a different piece of land at the other end of town, far from Miller Road. Ryan never talked much about what he had seen that third night, but sometimes late at night, when the wind moved through the pine trees outside their new bedroom window, he would lie awake and listen. And Sarah would reach over in the dark and take his hand, and they both knew that whatever had lived in the darkness of Hollow Creek was gone. But neither of them ever quite stopped listening.